So we did part of the Katha Upanishad yesterday, but I think we did quite a bit. Some more of the Katha Upanishad is left, but so we started with this young boy asking his father, who was giving away useless things as sacrifice. He asked him, "Who would you give me to? I'm your dearest and most precious property, so who will you give me to?" The father said, "I will give you away to death." So he goes to the land of the Lord of Death, waits for 3 days without being attended upon. The Lord of Death comes back and says, "I'm very sorry about this, that you had to wait for 3 days. Especially a great seeker like you, a great soul like you at this young age. So in exchange for that, for compensation for making you wait for 3 days, no food, no water, I will grant you 3 boons, gifts." And the first gift, very simple: may I go back and may my father receive me without anger, like any kid who wants to go back. And may he recognize me. So we discussed that a little bit, that when a person discovers the truth, some change is happening. So may my father recognize me when I return. And the second was, they say that there is a plane called heaven, where people go after death and live till they exhaust the fruits of their good actions happily. Can you teach me how to get there? You must understand, question is, all people after death are supposed to spend little time. There is no human being who doesn't do any good deeds. Something people do, unless you are so terrible. So everybody gets a chance. The question here is it possible while I am still alive to experience that heaven? And is there a way to do it? Is there some way to do it? Also, is there some way by which when the soul leaves the body, it can assure itself of going to such a good place rather than a bad place? And Yama teaches him the way of reaching there, saying, have good thoughts, let the fire inside blaze forth and take you to that level of happiness. Now this is a thing about the inner fire. We discussed that a little bit yesterday. There are 2 things here. One is the fire, meaning fired with the zeal to reach there. It also means an internal psychic fire which is activated. And when this is activated, when one is passing away, then one is assured of a happy ending out there. Of course, one has to come back. This is the theory. Difficulty is, it's not easy for anybody to think of any such thing when you leave the body. Everybody has to leave the body at some time. If you believe that there's something leaving the body. But the strange, not strange, but the reality is, when you leave the body, you will only think of something which you've always been thinking all your life. You can't suddenly shift and say, let the fire take me to the highest heaven and so on, because what you are attached to and what you are thinking all your life, this thought will appear when you are about to leave the body. In fact, the fear of death is not just the fear of the unknown, partly yes. The greatest fear is that you have to leave all the things that you consider yours, all the things that are dear to me. If somebody says, okay, you're going to die in 5 minutes or tomorrow, you can take your house, you can take your wife, you can take your children, you can also take your secret lover. You can take everything with you. Where is the fear of death? Nobody is afraid of death. That is the greatest fear. Partly, of course, the unknown. So, therefore, at the point of death, it's not easy only at that time to think let the soul be free from the body and go. Until you start thinking, unless you start thinking about it in your daily life, every day, at least for a few minutes, you will not be able to bring yourself to think about it at that moment. That would have been nice and easy. I lead my whole life killing thousands of people, and then when I'm going to die, I say, oh, this is not possible. What you do all your life, this is what you'll think at the end. So the idea that Yama says to Nachiketas is to cultivate this understanding from the very beginning, so that as you live in life, you're thinking about it. There's some little more of the Upanishad, we'll do it, don't worry about it, we have time. And if we do, then we might even take up some other Upanishad later. Not later, along with this. I want to tell you a story regarding this. There was a there was a well-known king in India, in a state called Patiala, in the Punjab. And please don't think that in the Punjab only people with beards and turbans live. There are other people also there in Punjab. So, this king, in those days, the emperor of India, who lived in Delhi, was a Mughal emperor. All the kings of all the other states, they bore allegiance to him. You can't do major things without asking the emperor who is sitting in Delhi. In those days, this is a real story, okay? The Mughal emperor in Delhi was Mr. Jafar Shah, who was the last Mughal emperor of India. After the 1858 mutiny, the British banished him to Burma and he never came back. That was the last emperor. So the king of Patiala wanted to expand his territory because Patiala was a small state. He wanted to make it bigger. Now he couldn't do it without permission from the emperor in Delhi. Those days there were no fast trains or planes, so he took his time, went to Delhi, met the emperor who lived in the Red Fort. If you go to India, you will see the Red Fort, it's still there. And requested him, I need to expand my kingdom, sir. So please, can I have your help? Can you give me an army contingent with a commander and arms and ammunition and so on? The emperor said, okay, we'll think about it. I could. Meanwhile, the Red Fort where the king sat, there was a big window. There was a go and look down from the window. He looked down and he saw a man sitting under a tree. He looked completely crazy, like a beggar. All his clothes were torn, his hair was in disarray, and he was laughing to himself, looking up with his hands and talking something and laughing to himself. And there was a small bowl, begging bowl. So when you were hungry, you used to take it, so people gave food. And he was laughing away, smiling beautifully. So the emperor asked this king, "Did you see this guy's face?" He said, "Yes, sir, he seems to be very happy." "Now look at my face." "Who is happy, me or him?" He said, "He." In which case, think about this matter carefully and come back to me. And if you still feel like you need to expand your territory, I'll help you. Go. So, this man went back. But strangely, he did not reach Patiala, which is his kingdom. Nobody knows where he went, he disappeared. Many years passed, the king didn't come, so his younger brother took over the kingdom and became the ruler. I think that lasted even till late, till now. And the eldest brother just disappeared. So one day, the then king of Patiala decided to go on a pilgrimage. In those days, kings went to the Char Dham and other places for pilgrimage. And this king also wanted to go to a holy place of the Sikhs, which is up there in the Himalayas near the Valley of Flowers. What's it called? Hemkund Sahib, yes. Hemkund. Kund means a pond. And Hem means ice pond. Few places in India where you can see something like this, So he was starting on a pilgrimage, so everybody told him, whenever you see a great saint, take their blessings. Because it's dangerous to go on a pilgrimage like that. Those days, even now it's dangerous, but those days. So he went, he reached Rishikesh. Talking about the Rishikesh of many years ago, not the picnic spot it has become now. He reached Rishikesh and somebody told him there's a holy man just a little bit away in a place called Lakshman Jhula who lives in a cave. Maybe you should go and take his blessings also. So he went with his entire retinue. King travels with a lot. There was this yogi sitting there, tall, well-built yogi with matted hair and all that, meditating. Then he opened his eyes and the king said, Maharaj. Maharaj means king. So either emperors are called Maharaj or holy men are called Maharaj. Because they have conquered the senses, which is much more difficult than conquering territory. So he said, Maharaj, please bless me. I'm going up the Himalayas to Hemkund. The holy man spoke, and he said, my blessings are on you. And he opened his eyes and looked at him. The brother suddenly realized that it was his elder brother who had left, who had disappeared. One was those powerful eyes, which at one time would have said, behead this guy. And the other with the voice. So he recognized him and he said, brother, why are you sitting here? Go back to Punjab. I am the king because you left and we didn't have anybody. So I've taken over. I want to give it back to you. Please go back. So the yogi smiled and said, what did you call me when you came in here? He said, Maharaj, yes. So now I am the emperor of the whole world. Why would you want me to go to little Patiala? Huh? So he later on became well known, not well known, few people know. It's called the Tapasviji Maharaj. He lived for many years. There is an ashram called Vishnu Ashrama, started in Bangalore by him, at a cave where he used to spend a lot of time. It's still in existence, near the Nandi Hills. Anyway, so why did I take up this subject?
Inner fire.
Hmm?
Inner fire.
What?
Inner fire. The inner fire.
Yeah, so the inner fire was lit in him. The moment he looked at this man sitting under the tree with a begging bowl and being very happy. Now this thought doesn't come all the time, and because whatever we are fond of, we're likely to think of that when you die. The moment your mind is fixed on the fact that this body is going to die, Vasmantam Shariram, this body is going to become ashes, I am not this, I am a different entity, and I am going on to the higher levels. So Yama taught him how to do this. He also said, from now on this sacrifice will be called, this practice will be called Nachiketa Yajna, the sacrifice of Nachiketa. Bonus. But there was still one left, the last one. So Nachiketa said, now here is the third gift, boon that I ask. Some say when the body dies, it's over. Some say something survives. Now tell me, is there something in me, an element in me, which is my true self, which is never born and therefore never dies, which is not afraid of death because it was never born? Is there some element in me? Please teach me how to get there, if there is. This is what I want. This is the only boon I want. Now, Yama, the Lord of Death, tries to distract him. He says, even the gods had doubts on this matter. So ask something else. Why do you want to ask this? He says to him, I will give you all that you want. I will make you the ruler of all the three worlds. I give you all the wealth that Kubera, the Lord of Wealth, has. I will give you everything that you ask for. I will give you dancing girls and musicians and bands. Enjoy yourself. Go somewhere to Thailand or some such. He didn't say that. Enjoy yourself. And a good friend, Nachiketas, I explained to you that Nachiketas, the word in Sanskrit means one who does not know. Na-chiketa. So when one does not know, all this enters inside. When one already knows, nothing enters. So, he said, since it's so important that you're tempting me with the whole world, I want exactly that. I don't want anything else. Now here, as a test of a sincere person, a sincere seeker, who is only interested in this, in spiritual understanding, to discover one's own true self, and so on. Others can be easily distracted here and there. As I said yesterday, if you go to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a practical textbook on the practice of meditation, etc., yoga, there are 4 chapters. One is the Samadhipada first. We discussed it in the last session. I don't want to go back there, the Kriya session. Then there is the Sadhanapada, the chapter on practice. Then the last one is the Kaivalyapada, which means where one is free, the path of complete freedom from all distractions, from all conditionings. But between this, there is one chapter called the Vibhuti-pada. That's where people get lost, usually. Yeah, because there are many texts which say, you chant this. Recent new fashion is Bhairava, something, I don't know what. Chant this, and you'll get immense wealth, this, that, you know. Nobody talks about moksha, but. Or chant this sloka of Saundarya Lahari because there is a diagram there, and every day do puja, then the spirits will talk to you. And already I'm tired of people talking to me. Spirits talking. So, this is the Vibhuti-pada. When a person attains the capacity to fix his attention one-pointedly, that person becomes powerful because his attention, he can attain anything he wants. That's when these extraordinary capacities develop for a person. But then one gets lost in it. One forgets where one has to go. This may happen naturally sometimes, not even without trying. But then that is the time when the yogi has to be very, very careful and not fall into this bottomless pit and move forward to Kaivalya. So, but Nachiketas is not ready to fall into any such trap. This is what I want. Because he is seeking true happiness, a joy which cannot be diminished by anything on this earth or outside this earth. The true self, the inner being. So finally, the Lord of Death, Yama, agrees because he has tested him and found him good. But he doesn't want to change tracks, he's on one track. So he says, now I will teach you the secret of that since you have passed all the tests. The secret, there are many things discussed. He says, starts by saying, there are 2 things on this earth which come to man. One is the good, and the other is the pleasant. Choose the good over the pleasant. Because if you choose the pleasant, you miss the good, and therefore you are not on the path to freedom. You may get caught up with what the pleasant offers, and you might neglect what goodness takes you to. When you say goodness, there's a definition for that which comes later. Then he also says that that self that you seek, which is immortal, which is never born and which never dies, that self is nowhere other than in the deep recesses of your own consciousness, your own heart, secretly hidden in the heart, angushta matra, like a thumb shape, this much. And this is the jiva, which is the essence of your being. It's because of this that the mind works, everything works, but it doesn't do any work. It just relaxes and enjoys everything that is happening. So realize that that is your true identity. So having theoretic, okay. Then a very peculiar statement appears, which says, but that Atman, what you seek, that supreme joy that you seek, the inner being that you seek, essence of the universe, which is also your essence, deep down, cannot be attained through lectures. So we are wasting time. It cannot be attained by super intelligent people also. It cannot, and so on and so forth. I'll miss it, so maybe I should take. Being not so intelligent, I might mix. Okay, before that, he says that having described all this, which appears to be in the air, with no concrete ways of checking out, there is one sound which can take you towards that, which acts as a bridge between this world. There's a small apparition there at the door. It's looking in. The cloth on the head disappeared. So he says that, what did he say?
Sound.
And that is the sound of Om. So while all this is now theoretical at the moment, continuous chanting or listening to the sound of Om in deep meditation, that leads you to the inner self, which is the immortal being inside you. Then having said that, it says it is smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. It's set in the heart of every creature. The one who relaxes beholds him freed from sorrow, one who is not agitated. Through the tranquility of the mind and the senses, he sees the greatness of the self. Then he says that thing which I started just now, this self cannot be attained by instruction, nor by intellectual power, nor even through much hearing. He is to be attained only by those whom the self chooses. To such a one, the self reveals itself, which means whatever acrobatics you do, until finally the self lays its compassionate eye on you, one cannot find it. So when you understand this, then you move accordingly and are not filled with ego, because I do this, that. You should, but the ego point should be taken care of. Then, if it appears so hopeless, then what shall I do now? Because the self has to choose. The next sloka says, the self chooses those who have this kind of life. which you can do. What is that? The self does not choose. Those who have not desisted from evil ways. Now that desisting from evil ways is left to you, not to the self. Some responsibility. Otherwise you say, let the self choose. Also not one who has not developed concentration. Too much sun? The sun? Okay. One who has not a concentrated mind, who hasn't learned the art of fixing one's attention within. Even one whose mind is not composed. Such a one, this self does not choose. If he is like that, or she, then there's a chance that the self chooses this person. So if you want the self to choose you, follow this. Desist from evil of all kinds. Cause no harm to anybody else. Thought, word and deed. Difficult, I agree. But then something that is valuable is always difficult. It's not so cheap. That's where we stopped yesterday. The next is the self, though hidden in all beings, does not shine forth, but is seen by the great rishis with their subtle minds through their quiet and tranquil intelligence. Having said that, Yama says to Nachiketas, Utishta jagrata prapya varanya bodha. Arise, awake, having attained your boons, understand them. And then it says, Shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgham patastat kavayo vadanti. Sharp as the edge of a razor and hard to cross. This teaching is difficult to tread, so the sages have declared. It's like walking on the edge of a razor. Have you read a novel called The Razor's Edge by Somerset Maugham? No. Well, it's very old. Somerset Maugham wrote this beautiful novel, The Razor's Edge, after meeting Ramana Maharshi in Thiruvananthapuram. It's about a cab driver in the United States who's actually a saint, whose mind is so balanced. Outwardly, he's a cab driver. So therefore, and then it ends like this chapter. Whosoever shall cause to be recited this supreme secret before an assembly of seekers, or devotedly at the time of the ceremonies of the dead, when people are dying. This part is useless now because nobody will understand what you're saying. So you should say that in a language that they understand. No point in chanting what you cannot understand. This will prepare them for everlasting life. This is how that chapter ends. The next section 1, Paranchikani Vairnat. The self is not to be sought through the senses. That self which we are talking about here cannot be found through the sense organs because the sense organs are limited. They cannot touch something that is infinite. The self works through the senses, and when you say you enjoy, the self is enjoying. Seeking life eternal, therefore, don't seek it outwardly, but turn inward and experience the true self. The small-minded go after outward pleasures. They walk into the snare of widespread death. The wise, however, recognizing life eternal, do not seek the stability among things which are unstable. The small-minded go after outward pleasures. They walk into the snare of widespread death. The wise, recognizing life eternal, do not seek the stable among things which are unstable. Look around, everything is unstable. If one seeks to find stability through this, it's not going to work. This is what the Rishi is saying. Okay. We all seek stability, right? I think so. Stability in relationships, stability in career, stability in politics, almost impossible. We seek stability in all ways, but this whole world is unstable. It's one thing today and another thing tomorrow. So, can one who seeks stability of mind, tranquility of mind, find it among any of these unstable things? I mean, it's simple. No. So where do you find that stability and tranquility required so that the inner self shines forth inside? So, first is to understand this stability that we seek is not going to be found anywhere outside. In a way, I would say try and experience and then figure out. But then one would get pretty old experimenting. And then death is standing at the door, and what do we do? So, you don't have to burn your fingers to know that fire burns your fingers. You can see somebody else burning. It's enough. So, understanding this, the wise, the seeker, let's not even say wise, the seeker, finding that stability, tranquility, peace and joy cannot be found in this unstable world, seeks for it within, not outside, independent of any outward circumstances, and perhaps finds it within. And when the mind is thus tranquil, then the self shines forth. If you say, all this will happen only if the self chooses, I will counter it by saying that you're sitting here is probably because the self so chose. How do you know? There are millions of people in this world. Why are they not sitting here and trying to listen? The very thought that comes to a person, that there are other things other than ordinary things in life, let me seek it, I think is the self trying to give you a message, hey, watch out. Now we come to this wonderful world which we are in, beautiful world. I enjoyed my views through the window, it's so beautiful. I send a picture of this to somebody who is now doing some kind of sadhana in Mayavati, in the Himalayas. Yesterday I sent the picture, said, a view from my window. Somebody is doing some Viveka Chudamani and some sadhana up there in Mayavati. Mayavati is a center in the Himalayas, or in what state is it in? Uttarakhand. Yeah. Where, this is interesting, you must hear this. You know, you must have heard of Swami Vivekananda. I don't know how many. Swami Vivekananda was one of those yogis who was English educated and so on, who was perhaps one of the first people to come west. He attended the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, and then he traveled a lot in this part of the world. Visas were not so difficult at that time. And he also stayed for some time in the Alps, Swiss Alps, while traveling. He was so impressed that he told his two well-wishers who were from England, I forget their names, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart or something like that I want to have a place like this for our center in the Himalayas. So they went to Pitroghat, near Lohaghat. It's pretty high. And they bought a tea estate there and handed it over to them. This is the place where the Advaita Ashrama is, in the Himalayas. It's in the Pitroghat district. You need to pass Lohaghat, go there. It's a very beautiful place. You can see the Nanda Devi with snow on it. So the head of the mission saw this and he said, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful, but Nanda Devi still hasn't much snow. It'll take some time, winter." So it's not that, so why did I say that?
So you said picture.
No.
World is beautiful.
The world is beautiful, yes. Certainly is beautiful. Now, the beautiful part of the world, like the mountains, the trees, the ocean, the rivers, none of them are man-made. Yeah, the chalice are man-made. None of these are man-made. So they are more beautiful. And therefore, when you stay close to such non-man-made wonders, your mind also goes to the level of that which is not made by human hands, which is the secret of looking at the wonderful snowy peaks and getting into meditation. Well, there are people who will see beautiful snow peaks and have a gin. I mean, that's a different story. When I say gin, it's G-I-N and not J-I-N-N. So, it depends on the attitude, of course. But these are places which really, yes. And yet, we need to examine this world that we see through the senses and see how real it is. If you sit near a beautiful place like this, these thoughts will come much more clearly because you're not caught up in these little things, right? You're free. Maybe on a holiday, fine. So the corollary to what I said just now is, even though you're the most busy person on earth, suppose, take off at least for a few days, every 2 or 3 months, forget all about forget Google God. Go to a place like here, people who live around are lucky. It's a beautiful place. Get into a small chalet, stay, have simple food, meditate, enjoy, and go back. You find that you're able to function better when you go back. Because your mind has been clear, just as in deep sleep. Sleep wipes out most of the things that trouble us. So the brain probably revives its capacity. And when you do things, then it's more evident that you're doing it better. So do this. You don't have to go only because M is coming here or some guru is coming here or anything of the kind. By yourself, take off for a few days. Maybe 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter. Stay in a quiet place, preferably in a place where people don't know you, where there is no gossip, where there is no discussion. Enjoy. Go for walks, meditate, eat simple food. So, and yet we need to look at this world, which is beautiful, of course. There are also ugly parts of the world. The killings, the murders, the earthquakes. But you need to look at carefully even at this thing which we define as reality. How real is it? This all teaching may not be from one Upanishad, okay? I didn't say I'm going to do the Katha Upanishad. I started yesterday because I thought it's a good story to introduce Upanishads in general. Now let's examine this world about which we are so sure that it's real and exactly as we think it is. Okay. We have, how many sense organs do we have? Organs of perception, how many do we have? 5. What are the 5?
Smell, taste, hearing, seeing.
Kissing, what? Okay, so, sorry. We have the eyes, we have the ears, we have the sense of smell, we have touch. What else do we have?
Taste.
Taste. These are the 5 instruments of perception that all human beings are equipped. I don't know if there's a 6th one. I don't know, maybe. But this is all that we have, 5 senses. Now, of these, the most important generally for most of us is the eye. Eyes, we see with the eyes, we enjoy with the eyes. Eyes, in Upanishad calls it chakshu, eye. Now, how reliable is this eye of ours? How reliable is this? Okay, simple. Now the sun is out, right? Every morning, the sun is out, rising. And every night, setting. That's what we think. But if even a schoolboy would tell you, after he reads his physics and geography, that the sun, Dad, doesn't rise or set. It's the earth that is moving. But what do we see with our eyes? That the sun is rising and the sun is setting. Enjoy it, of course, but... So, is it really true that the sun is rising or is it earth moving? It's earth moving. What does my eye say? That it is rising. How much can I depend on my eye? You know those things called optical illusions? They look so real, but they are illusions. Okay, So if this is too much of a simplified example, let me give you something more. Here, oh, there's water. This. I have a microphone before me. Black, round microphone. Long, round, cylindrical. So says my eye. And therefore I have accepted it as a cylindrical black microphone. Why microphone? Because I have been told that this is what is taking my voice across. So it's a microphone. But look at the shape which I see with my eyes. I see this as a black cylindrical microscope because, and of this size, because I'm born, like all of you are, with a particular type of lens in my eye. Right? Convex. Imagine if we had concave lenses in our eyes. Convex. And a particular power. And therefore, from birth we have recognized this as being of this shape. And we have labeled it cylindrical, round, etc. Why? Because the instrument of perception called my eye, the chakshu, is built in a certain way. It has a certain kind of lens. So I see it like this. What if I was born with a different kind of lens? If you say this is impossible, may I point out that the common housefly has compound eyes. How do you think it will see this microphone? Many cylinders together? Or we don't know. We have to get into the housefly's brain to know that, what's happening. Sometimes I wonder what the elephant feels when it sees us. Because it's so huge and we are so little and yet scared. Maybe it's the lens of that, we have to check this. The elephant's eye is such that it sees us like giants. Who knows? We don't know. So therefore, if the shape and the size of a thing change according to the lens of the person who is viewing it, what is the actual shape of it? Nobody knows. We know it is, but we don't know what it is or how it is. Of course it is. And then I say it's black. Does the color black belong to the microphone? Or is it because of the light of the sun or artificial light, whichever, that we see this color? When I say something is red or black, it simply means, when I say it's black, which means all the colors of the spectrum that comes from the sun or from artificial light. It's a spectrum. Violet, indigo, blue, green, orange, red, vibgyor. All the colors of the sunlight are fully absorbed here. And therefore I see this as black. If it's white, all the colors are reflected. If it is red, all colors are absorbed except red, which is reflected. If I say green, it is the same thing. So this color, is it really a quality of the object or is it a quality of sunlight or light source? Look at it carefully. How illusory the world is, that we are so dead sure about, 100% sure. Okay. So, like Alexander Pope, the poet said, the difference is as great between the optic seen as the object seen. Now, Then you would say, but it is actually here because it's, But if you ask a quantum physicist, he would say that here, maybe not here. Then you say, oh, it's kind of hard. It's hard for me, but not for an elephant. Hard is quality which is relative to me. Strong, quality related to me. And then you say, well, but it's solid. Yeah, really? Solid? If you really see with something that has enough magnifying power, you'll see millions of viruses and bacteria and things passing through this. For me, it is solid. Why? Because of my eyes. This cloth appears solid and impenetrable to me. You know that cloth is made of the warp and the woof of threads. Between each thread there is a lot of space. We don't see it. Even a magnifying glass will show you how many creatures may be passing through it. Suppose I remove this microphone and put it on the ground. You would say it is very small. The distance, I can cross it just like that. Imagine an ant trying to cross this microphone. So is it really large or is it small? We don't know. Depends on the viewer. Then there is the question of time. It has lasted. Time is change. If there was no change, you cannot reckon time. Everything is the same. How do you know what is time? Time is change. Actually, the only changeless thing on earth is change. Everything else changes. So from a very certain, sure, measured, weighed world, we suddenly face an uncertain, unweighed, ununderstood material world. But it exists, of course. Something exists. We don't know. All I'm saying is that there is existence, but how it exists is interpreted by our senses, and therefore interpreted by a set of other kind of senses, it is something else. But something is. Now the Upanishad says that which is the only reality. The other things being relative are not real. Not that they are not real, they are relatively real, yes. It's almost similar, which we will come when we do the next Upanishad, if we do. Like the dream state, which is very real when it lasts, but is not so when it is not. While you're dreaming, nobody will believe that it is a dream. I mean, rarely it happens, but generally not. Right? So these are the subjects which the Upanishads take up and try to make us understand. So that we may not depend on something which we think is solid, true, absolutely true, and so on, and forget that there is an essence in us which is pure existence no matter what changes happen outside. Therefore, if we are seeking stability, that's the only stable thing, which is the inner self, which is a witness, which is watching everything. And those who have touched that have also said that it's the greatest joy that can happen to a human being. Therefore, when we are searching for the joys in this world, indirectly we are searching for that. We don't realize it, but we're searching for that. So, it's 10:30 now, so tea is real. Not really, but yeah. So you can go to the bathroom, relieve yourself, come back in half an hour.